kind of a mess right now, so we're gonna start today off with a garage beer. Welcome to episode 17 of the Hurricane NSX build. At this point, you've seen us strip down the trunk, the engine bay, most of the interior. So today, what do we got left? The front bay. I wouldn't really call it a trunk or frunk. I wouldn't really call it an engine bay. I'm gonna call it a front bay, if I can get her open here. There we go. This is where they keep their spare tire, their fluids. You got your battery in here, your radiator, just like a normal car, and our electronics for the pop-up headlights, and that big old ABS unit. As you can see, it's pretty dirty in there. So today, we're gonna get it cleaned up. We're gonna see if there's anything in here we can delete for weight savings, and if there's anything that is damaged, needs to be replaced, and just kind of plan out what are we gonna do for future modifications, where we're gonna put everything. Just like the rest of the car, we want this thing to be fast, efficient, easy to service, simple and reliable. You can see I got these boxes on deck because I know we're probably going to be removing quite a bit of stuff today. And if you stick to the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about what this lifestyle's been like now that I've been modifying cars full time. I'll talk about the other projects I got going on in the background. There's still NSX projects that a video will be coming eventually for, but we got the K24 right here, and we got this gray blob underneath the car we're going to be talking about. I also did have to make a quick change to the fuel system that we worked on in the last episode. But for now, let's get right to work. We're going to set up the tripod, probably put on my headphones, and start removing and cleaning. Before starting this video today, I wiped all the dust off the hood. This thing's been sitting for a while, and man, was it nice to see the shiny paint again. Let's start by removing this whole mess of things right here. This whole unit here is the factory ABS system, and I believe this is the cruise control system. That don't look too bad at all. This thing was probably right above the water line. I mean, look at that. The housing has no corrosion at all. The sticker still looks brand new. All the zinc coated parts look good. This motor looks brand new. This auto cruise control actuator can be yours for $20,000. Oh, where do I even start here? So much going on. Let's remove the lines from the module itself. Ouch. Yeah, I could use a smoothie. Oh, damn it. Got a line nut here that was rounded out. Previous owner, obviously. Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. It was rounded out pretty bad. Oh man, what a pig. Damn! The new unit we're using, the BMW, I think it's an MK60 E5. It's about the size of like a Pop-Tart box, and it weighs about the same. That weighs... Let's see. What would you say? It's at least
20.
At least 20. Factory horn. Oh! We're gonna go ahead and pull the master cylinder and the brake booster as well. As you can see, this car had a little bit of a master cylinder leak, and it leaked on the chassis. Thank heavens it's an aluminum chassis and it didn't rot it out. I've seen that many times on old Hondas. Ugh. Yep, bad seal for sure. Dead giveaway. I think I'm gonna have to undo some hardware on the inside to get the booster off. You guys see that plate over there? I bet you that was for the clutch pedal on the manual transmission models. Check out this pedal assembly. Yeah, that's not good. That's gotta go. Rust is pretty bad, but I think with a good sandblasting, a fresh coat of paint, a seal kit, this could definitely be refurbished. 4 lines up here. Looks like we got front brake. These two must be going to the rear brakes. And then this hose right here actually was a vacuum hose that connected to the booster, but also goes all the way through the car and connects to the intake manifold. Oh, that's a lot of coolant still. Now I'm all sticky. If we want to do this right, that front bumper is going to have to come off. They should tell you how to do it in the book here. Here we go. The book actually was not that big of a help this time, but I think I got her figured out. Well guys, we got it off. This thing is pretty heavy actually. Surprisingly so. It's got these aluminum pieces in there. It's almost like they're just floating around. Like aluminum supports in front of the foam support. Maybe I can pull the foam out here and show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the weirdest thing. So under that foam is these pieces of aluminum. It's like they're just floating in there. I don't think Yeah, there's no mounting holes or anything. What the heck? You see, I ended up clipping the turn signal harness. It's no big deal for me since I'm rewiring this car anyway. But they recommend when you take this bumper off, so you don't have to do that, is you want to take these turn signals off first. However, there's one screw holding them in, and to get at that screw, you got to go through this little porthole right here. Whoop! There you can see the head of that screw. I do not think that it liked the salt water. Actually was able to crack it loose. Looks like they designed it so the screw actually can't fall out. But there she is. I'll find a way to get a new screw in there. I am surprised Honda didn't glue these things onto the foam. It is a new day. Removing that bumper last night gave us access to a whole bunch more components to test and remove. Our focus today is mostly going to be electrical. Let's get these horns out of here. That makes 3 horns total on this car. It also has 2 AC condensers. That's something I've never seen before. Let's check out the condenser fan. Okay, so nothing. Fan feels solid. Okay. This is exactly what happened with the radiator fan. I'm gonna break it free. Try it again. And it's got a little rattle to it. I don't think it would be a bad idea to swap this out for a new, slimmer Spall fan. Let's go check the other side. It's like the same thing over here. Fan is seized in place. This one sounds a little better. And the connectors don't look too bad on these. I've noticed on all the external motors on this car that are typically out in the elements, Honda does a much better job weatherproofing them. So maybe these pigtails are gonna be worth saving. Ouch. Actually not bad. That is surprising. Got the switch here that tells you if your hood's popped. Don't think this is necessary. This whole piece here is the windshield washer reservoir, and we're gonna test it out, see if it still works. And we'll hot wire the pump here. Here goes nothing. Oh, it works! Cool. Next thing I'm gonna test is the windshield wiper motor. Looks like I have access to the power wires right here. Let's take a look in the book and see what wire does what. So it looks like power going into the wiper motor is going to be a green and black wire. Now coming out of the motor, we got two different current paths. We have a low speed, which is grounded all the way down here after it goes through all this baloney. And we have a high speed, same thing, goes through all this baloney and then gets grounded. So we'll try low speed first. We'll hook up to the green and black wire and the blue and red wire. Okay. Shit.
Very nice.
All right, let's try high speed. This thinner wire creates a lot more resistance, which is not ideal. The more resistance you add to a DC circuit like this, the more current is required for the DC motor to do what it needs to do. Ideally, you use 12 gauge wires like this. So the fact that this is running with this thin gauge wire is very impressive. And the reason I'm pretty excited about it is it means as long as we use the proper gauge wire, I should be able to run the wiper blades with one of Haltech's 25 amp outputs. So here we're looking at our ground, high speed, and low speed wires. To make things simple, because this is a race car, we only need two of these wires. We'll choose the low speed circuit. Now here's the thing, although we're using the low speed circuit with our 25 amp output coming out of our Haltech PD16, we have the ability to use PWM, or pulse width modulation. So we can actually control the speed of that DC motor. I think the factory speed's pretty good, but it's pretty cool we have that option. Now what's going on with these other wires? These ones are hooked up to the automatic park sensor. That's part of the windshield wiper control circuit. It gets a little bit confusing, but if you power or ground one of these wires, it basically tells that control circuit when to park the wipers and where to park the wipers to make sure when you let go of the button, the wipers stop in the same spot every time. The drawback of not using the factory wiper park signal is if it's a two-position push button, the customer's gonna have to release that button right at the perfect time to make sure the wipers park in the right spot. Another possible workaround would be adding a timer in the Haltech system that tells the wiper motor, hey, let's turn on for 3.5 seconds when the customer hits the button. And you'll have to adjust that time to make sure when the DC motor powers off, the wipers are gonna be in the right spot. And I think we're gonna wire the pop-up headlights in a very similar way. What's cool about this car, and when I was doing some research, I saw that a couple other cars do this as well, is typically with the DC motor, you have to reverse the positive and negative leads to get the motor to change directions. On this car, the wiper motor is always spinning in the same direction. It just has a series of linkages in there that cause the wiper arms to go back and forth and back and forth. And it's the same exact thing with the pop-up headlights. One positive wire, one negative wire. You don't have to switch them around, and the pop-up headlights will sit there and continue to cycle. Someone's got a drinking problem.
I'm drunk.
You couldn't even wait for me to put it in the cup holder.
No.
Left headlight retractor motor, blue with black stripe, and blue. See, I told you it would work. Same thing though, I'd have to set it up with a timer. We say like maybe 2.5 seconds to open it up. 2.5. And then 2 seconds to close it. 1, 2. So 2.5, 2. Yes, the Haltech systems are very, very expensive, but having features like pulse width modulation, adding timers, and having multiple 25 amp outputs and multiple 8 amp outputs makes them well worth the money in my opinion. And that's before we even start talking about the benefits like not having to use relays, not having to use fuses. All that stuff is digital now, and it's awesome. Next, I'm gonna remove the headlight housings, and then I should be able to pull off the entire front end electrical harness. We can tell this cover's been removed before. It's got the scuff mark on the side here, and then over here, somebody replaced one of the factory screws with some sort of deck screw. I don't know how they mixed that up. It's a pretty significant difference there. What probably happened was they were doing a headlight swap in the Home Depot parking lot, and they dropped the factory screw on the ground. They couldn't find it, so they ran inside the store and grabbed the first thing they saw. Looks like the lamps are held in by these clips. A little bit of corrosion. Hopefully they come out. Headlights are looking pretty rough. You can clearly see where the water line was though, so that's kind of cool. These are gonna need a full restoration. But for now, since we have everything out of the engine bay, it's time to get it super clean. Well, that was a lot of scrubbing, but it was well worth it. The super clean and the aluminum cleaner did their job. It looks real nice in there now. After cleaning, we can take a closer look at some trouble spots I've noticed. So here we got some seam sealer failing, a little bit of cracking. Looks like maybe the spot weld's busted, and then the panel separated a little bit. Here we got some more kind of whack looking welding and seam sealer cracking. And then over here, we have the seam sealer and paint and primer failure due to the master cylinder leak. Everything looks really good on this side, and everything looks really good in the front. With everything we've noticed today and everything we got to touch up or modify, I think that warrants a whole front end restoration video. So that'll be coming soon in the future. Oh my goodness, I went to turn my lights back on, and this one was broken before, so I had it bypassed. But this light and this light are now blinking at me. It's always something. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. In the beginning of the video, I did mention that I was going to talk a little bit about some of the projects I got going on in the background or coming up, and what it's like being self-employed now, doing this full time. Well, our first background project is this K24 right here. It is almost done being torn down and reassembled. I'm just waiting on a couple parts from powder coating. One of the parts, the timing cover, is getting powder coated by Gideon. That's going to be black. And then the valve cover is getting powder coated by Charlie Moa. That one's going to be a really nice red color. We've already done some really cool stuff to this motor, but I'm not going to spoil it just yet. Down here is another project I've been working on. So I think I mentioned it a little bit in the last video, but this is going to be a mold for our new carbon fiber trunk. It's going to be one single piece of carbon fiber. At this state, it just needs a quick sand, some clear coat, some mold release wax, and we'll be ready to pull some carbon trunks off of it. This design is going to work really well with the other mods we did in the trunk. It's going to give us a bunch more space, and it should look really cool. As far as self-employment, it's going pretty good. So it definitely took me a while to get used to normal people's schedule. So I was on third shift for like 6 years. So slowly 180ing my sleep schedule has been a little tricky, but I'm just about there now. On top of sleep, I've got medications I got to readjust. That itself can be a bit of a challenge, but we're doing it. One of the biggest highlights so far is something that happened a couple times to me today, where I just kind of sit there and I stop and think, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm having a real good time, and I'm getting paid to do this. Car projects have always been like a really big hyperfixation of mine. So there is some times where if I get in the right flow state, I could work for 10 hours straight and I'm not even phased. And I tell you what, even though I love cars, there is still days where I wake up and I don't want to do anything. But this is my lifestyle now. Not only am I building the customer's dream right now, I'm trying to build my dream. One of the biggest challenges, and I know this is a challenge for a lot of technicians or mobile mechanics out there, is just getting enough billable hours. And for me, that means making sure I have enough parts and the parts in the right spots so I can slowly but surely put this thing together and not have too many breaks in between. There's nothing worse than ordering a part for something you're deep into and finding out that part takes 2 weeks to arrive. And because of that, and because of some other reasons with the customer, I've actually decided to change up how I'm approaching this car. So I've mentioned before that I was kind of working back to front. Now I want to work on the essentials first. So I work with either what I have or what I need to do next to get this thing on the road. So things like powertrain are higher on my priority list than things like what speakers am I going to run. Another big challenge for me is learning to be more entrepreneur-minded. My whole life has been work, work, work. If you don't have enough money, you're not working enough. But with business, there is a lot more strategy involved. I started this journey with a lot of experience working on cars, but zero experience in business. So thank goodness I've got a couple other buddies in the automotive entrepreneurship space that have helped me out a ton in the past couple weeks. They provide me with a lot of information, let me know what goals I should look forward to, and let me know all the things that I was doing wrong. And man, was I doing a lot of things wrong. But that's okay, because that means we got a lot of things we can improve on. And things are already pretty good. Speaking of which, we just hit 9,000 subscribers, so thank you guys very much for your support. I think it's time for a merch drop. Everybody's been telling me. I've just been trying to find time to do it. In the next video, I plan on having this K24 back together and looking really nice. If there's a small delay in the video, just know I'm waiting on parts. On top of that, we're going to begin working on this front end of ours. Thanks again for tuning in to Crafted Cars. See you next time. Bye-bye.